Hello, team. Please mind the gap. That comment is very relevant for today as we're talking about this whole concept of selling as an active service. Welcome to Span the Chasm Facebook Live this fabulous Friday, the 20th, where we're continuing our series on the idea that selling is best done as an active service. Last week, we kicked it off. My good friend Tim Kubek and client, two grizzled veterans with almost 60 years of selling experience between us, talking about the idea that it's not about the transaction, it's about selling as an active service. Today, we are digging into the concept of client value and how that is enhanced when viewing selling as an active service versus a transaction. And I showed you my fabulous mug here from my good friends in England. Let me get this oriented right. Boom. Please mind the gap. And the concept there is, the gap is where they are today and where they are going, where they're trying to get to. That gap is the client value gap that we need to be focused on. And as a sales coach who's been doing performance coaching for years, I see a real difference in the approach to that gap between those that are selling as an active service and those that are viewing this as a transaction. Again, both reps are going to be able to get deals done. Both reps are going to be able to make wonderful livings. But selling as an active service, there's two elements I want to dig in today. One of them is the identification element, and then the other one is the realization of that value. And on the identification side, that gap concept, when selling as an active service, I find the dialogues between the rep and the prospect are very different. There's a level of questioning that drives a sense of precision and efficiency because it's based on truly caring for the prospect, viewing as what you're doing as a service, not a deal or a transaction. So some things happen, like the information, they ask 2 or 3 more questions about the information. What does it mean? Why does it matter? Who would care about that? What would be the impact? So that we get this right for you, please help me understand, versus, so it's very much known about the prospect, whereas a lot of times on the more transactional side where we're trying to get a deal done, and again, I'm not saying transactional is bad by any means. I know tons of great transactional sales reps, but this concept on the transactional side, I do see a lot of reps maintain their assumptions longer. Hey, I've been here before. I've met with this VP. I've met with this CIO role. I know what they're talking about. So they live on with their assumptions versus clearing those up and moving from the concept of assuming to actually knowing. And I see that's a big difference with selling as an active service for this transaction. The other area is, so the prospect has known problems that they're trying to figure out. You can have a fabulous conversation around that. But then in today's marketplace, a la challenger sale, our POV, our point of view that we're going to bring to the table to talk through, I find is brought in a different way. On the transactional side, where I'm trying to get a deal done, I'm trying to maximize the amount of value and problem that I could turn over in that journey from current to future over those glorious outcomes. I find that the rep that is selling from an active service perspective is bringing the point of view based on real experience with a different heart. It really is, look, I care about you and I see what's going on. Our company sees what's going on. Here's a trend. Here's a high weather pattern that we see out there. I think it's going to affect you, and I want to make sure that you are prepared. First, on the transactional side, it tends to be a little bit more, hey, this is going on out here. You better watch out. And it's a little bit more pressure oriented or FOMO or manipulative, and it just feels different on the table, the side of the table with the prospect. So that the approach of the latent need or the unknown need, bringing your point of view into play, the approach on that feels very different to the prospect. And then then that goes into the third area, where is that selling as an active service is a higher level of commitment to the long-term value realization. The transactional rep is like, look, got the deal done, giddy up, client's gonna be in great shape, let me hand this off to the account management team, let's go. Whereas the selling as an active service, there tends to be a better transition between sales and account management to make sure that client is taken care of. And it's this first 60 days, this first 90 days of that deal, where at the end of that, you can pretty much predict whether or not you're gonna get the renewal in a year, which goes into the last area I wanna cover today, which is the account management process. Companies that view selling as an active service, like TrackMaven, we used them last week as an example. They are a classic example of caring for their customers. and help and wanting to make sure that they're successful. The account management team, their approach to looking out, quarters ahead for the renewal, making sure that they were in line, knowing that, almost at a quarterly level, hey, look, we were here, we're now here because maybe initiatives have changed, the organization has changed, something has changed, but this amount of drift, need to get that closed. We always want to be, they're micro tuning, they're always trying to change, change understanding what the new value is, because it moves, things have changed. How do we keep closing that gap so that we're not drifting far apart? Because on the transactional side, sometimes that drift can go and go and go. But when your drift is this wide at renewal time, it's very hard to close. But if you're maniacally focused on your client, serving them well, you're going to work very hard to keep that drift gap very close and easy to fix. And that just takes maniacal focus on them and their goals, making sure they're being successful. You're checking in, doing that micro tuning versus macro tuning. Micro is a whole lot easier than macro. And that makes especially for SaaS companies and PSOs, professional services organizations like Span the Chasm, we have to stay very close to our clients to make sure that we are still aligned to the mission that's driving the engagement. All right, great to see you, cats. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. This is part 2. Next week, we're going to be talking about sales success.